Let me do a little bit recapitulations. Okay, class, take a look. So we are still in the three vehicle. In the stage one, we already finished explaining the differences in the types of people who undertakes the path. In stage two, explaining the elements that make up this path. It's about Four Noble Truths and Eight Noble Paths. Then in stage three is defining the noble truth of the path to cessation as embodied by the three training and noble eightfold path. We finished the three training, all right? So now we go to the noble eightfold path, okay? So we are in the, the first, the right view, okay? Well, in the right view, we repeat again the paticca samuppada, which is the dependent origination, okay? Meaning to say that we have repeat dependent origination for twice, okay? So let's take a look, okay? So previously, we stopped here. We stopped in the verse number 96, okay? So let's take a look, 97. I expect today we are still unable to finish the right view because it is quite, the area is quite big. So let's take a look. In the previous verse is number 95. When this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist. So meaning to say that once we talk about the dependent origination, for example, avijja, then there's avijja, then there is a form. So when the avijja does not exist, then the form does not exist also. Once the avijja, ignorance, ceases, then the form also ceases. Okay, the empty and the calm nature of a dependent origination has an even more profound meaning. Okay, well, basically, a lot of facts here. Okay, so we repeat here. Then conventional things and the conventional self are illusory, impermanent, and empty. Remember, we repeat the impermanence, non-self many times here. Okay, if one truly contemplates impermanence and the non-existence of the self, leaves affliction behind and become liberated from birth and death, one will attain the nibbana. Okay, so in the simple way, from the Nikaya is insists that. So this is the seventh Visuddhi. Okay, according to that sentence, which is quoted from Nikaya, you must be complete the purification by overcoming the doubt. Then you are able to attain the nibbana. That is the meaning for it. Okay, well, anyway, of course, now the meditation, in the market is not necessary all have includes the paticca samuppada, not necessary. So you have to try it out, see whether your five hindrances have been subsided or not. Okay. Then the eliminating of all desires, that is the extinct and quiet nibbana. Okay. So that is the definition of the nibbana. Okay. Then let's take a look. Okay. So in the lastly is once we entering the absolute word, nothing can be said. Anything that is said is wrong. Meaning to say that we can't use any language to describe the nibbana. Okay. Now we go to the verse number 96. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Leong, I think you look still active now. Please read through it. Okay. Yeah, on the mind, Mr. Leong, yes.
Sifu, the sound system here cuts off and on.
Okay. So we'll let Elena and Sally as a host today. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I read lah.
Okay.
96. Such was taught by the Buddha. Dependent origination from the perspective of the middle way is not attached to the view of either existence or non-existence. One can be liberated with such right understanding. The teaching discussed above was taught by the Buddha in the Agama Sutra and elsewhere, and is called dependent origination from the perspective of the middle way. The middle way is true, just, without deviation and detached from the two extremes of deviant ways. The contemplation of the middle way in the Buddha Dharma, which comes from the true contemplation of dependent origination, is the Buddha's fundamental stand in teaching the Dharma. Therefore, true contemplation is also called contemplation of the mean, and the true Dharma is also called the Dharma of the mean. In order not to fall into the two extremes, all the sutras rely on the description of sentient beings themselves, which are born and die in accordance with dependent origination. Dependent origination does not fall into the two extremes, unlike the imagination of sentient beings who are attached to the extremes. This is in accord with Buddha's teaching that life is identical to the body is not what the person who practices holy deeds will say. That life is entirely different from the body is also not what the person who practices holy deeds would say. One's mind should not follow these two extremes, but should go truly toward the middle way. Dependent origination causes birth, aging, and death, causes ignorance, and in turn causes action. This is the middle way of dependent origination, which is neither the same nor different.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, class, let me try to explain what is the meaning of the middle path. Okay, basically, dependent origination is truly a middle path and avoid us for being extreme. Okay, well, I need to start with an example to make you understand what does it mean a middle path. Okay, okay, in ancient time, there's once upon a time. Basically, story begin with once upon a time. Yes, I would like to start with once upon a time. Okay, in ancient Indian, a thief, okay, had stolen a mango from the neighbor, and he got caught. He is facing judges, okay, and the judge claimed that you have commit stolen, you have commit stealing, okay. So I'm going to punish you, all right. But the thief is very smart. He argued that, sorry, you shouldn't, you shouldn't impose any sentences to me. The reason is the one who the one who stole the mango is, it happened in yesterday. It has nothing to do with me. Now it's a today. And again, the mango is no more, it is gone already. How can you sentence me? Because the me in the yesterday is nothing to do with present me in today. Okay, so it means that the thief is playing the philosophy. So Sally, if you are the judge, how do you review it? And then so that you can really impose some sentence, the sentence over him. Yes. On the mic, Sally.
So I become the judge. So I become the judge.
Yeah, you become the judge. How do you review it? So finally, release the thief, because the thief is smarter than you. So you release the thief without any sentences. Okay, Elena, how will you? How do you answer him? Philosophically,
What I say is not going to be a true answer. I don't think it will be the correct answer, but it's just that I will kind of like, yesterday I was in a very patient mood, but today I'm in a very sentencing mood. So what do you think today will be your sentence be?
Oh, okay. Well, there's some answer. Your answers. Mr. Leong, how do you answer? Oh, he is in the slow motion.
No, Mike.
I don't know what's the correct verdict to be given. Not sure.
I'm not sure. Okay, well, philosophically, the judge might answer in this way. Okay, basically, the way I see you today, you are come from yesterday. If without yesterday, we don't see you today. And you are the future for tomorrow. If without now, where do we get the future? If without now, if without past, we don't see you. Meaning to say that, okay, basically, you are related to yesterday. If without yesterday, we don't see the you, which is in the present. So that is the definition of the present. So you still in yesterday, so meaning to say that, and now, the karma will carry to the present. So now I'm going to punish you because yesterday is related to you. So this is how to answer philosophically. Basically, that is the answer also for the middle path. Okay, why we say that to avoid to follow to too extreme. Okay, basically, in ancient Indian, there got so many school of thought. There's two types of school of thought is so dominant and obvious. First is, if let's say this is you, once you die, okay, then no more next life, no more karma carry forward. So that is the one of the extreme. Okay, so what is the what's the terminology? We know later. Then second type is if once you die, your soul will carry forward to next life, and the soul is exactly the same only. So meaning to say that you are like just changing the clothes. Okay, meaning to say that past life is like a cup, and your soul is the water in the cup. One day is the next life, you change the cup to another cup only, and the water is the same carried to another cup, and the water is exactly the same. Well, this is we call it as a permanent view, which is not correct also. So what does it mean? Middle way. Middle way meaning to say that, okay, you die. Okay, so there's a reincarnation to the next life. Well, next life is not totally equivalent to the past life, but it is quite related. Why? Because whatever karma create in the past life, it will carry forward to the next life. So it is related, but it is not exactly the same. The reason is in the next life, you begin with another body because you have other parents, right? So your other parents will provide you another body. So that make you totally different from the previous life. But you still inherit some karma from the past life. So it make your life actually it's the combination from the past life and present life. So meaning to say that you are closely related to the past life, but not exactly like the past life. So that is the meaning of the middle way. Okay, well, for this terminology, I mean, there's one how to say idiom. It's quite famous to describe and make you easy to remember. We call it as one river is able to wash one lake only. Have I ever talked about this? One river to wash one lake. Let's take a look. This is the river. Elena, have I ever talked about this? One river to wash one lake. Okay, so take a look. This is the river. Why do we say one river to wash one lake? You see, now there's a river. You soak your leg inside the water. Okay, so your leg has been washed by the water. But once you take out your leg, okay, you take out your foot, and you submerge your leg again, the water actually is keep on flowing. Now, the water in the next minute coming is different with the previous one because the previous water have gone far away already because the water is still on flowing. So the first moment you put your leg, once you lift your leg, the water is gone already. And then once you put your second leg into the water in the river, so the coming water come and wash your present leg. So that is the idiom we always say that one river for one leg. So meaning to say that river is keep on flowing. It won't be the same every moment. So our mind and consciousness is the same. Every moment it is changing and it is different. Why? It's due to the power and the working of the karma. Of course, for previous life and the present life, there is also changing already. But since sometimes the change is so subtle, we are unable to detect it. Got it? Okay, so I think reasonable. This is a reasonable answer. So class, take a look. So here, according this is the meaning here. You see, the life is identical to the body. It's not what a person who practiced holy deed would say. That life is entirely different from the body. It's also not what a person who practiced holy deeds would say. Okay, your English is better than me. Let's take a look. Can you read through these three sentences? Is this three sentences the meaning is exactly what I described just now? Yes, is the same or actually you don't know?
I don't know. But what I want to say is that I remember I always relate to movies that I've seen. Okay, there's one time this Sifu said, 真真假假，真假，真假兩相分。仲有咩話？ It's something like 真 and 假 basically is just a line. Whether it's 真 or 假. I forgot the whole sentence already.
Why forget about it because it's unrelated.
Yeah, but this one is like,
oh, yeah.
Life is not the person's body. I think what you say is that this life, this body, when we die already, it's only our soul. And our soul will go to another body in the next life after reincarnation. So it's like
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
No, we don't call it a soul because if you use souls, that is the view of permanent. which you call it as a deviant view, which says a conscious.
Deviant view.
Meaning to say just keep on changing. Yeah, Sally, after reading the three sentences, do you notice that the meaning is what I explained just now? Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Leong, do you agree?
Yeah, yes, I agree, because life and body is two different identity.
Okay. So it's okay lah. So you just remember the way. I mean, maybe the river is the best way to make you remember the thing lah. Okay. Okay, next let's take a look. We go to the next paragraph. Okay. Can you please look for me? The footnote number 44 is refer. What sutta is it? Yes, number 44.
Essay.
SA.
Essay 12.
Samyutta Agama. Okay, class, can you please take a look? If you try to go up and down to all the footnote, okay, what sutra or Abhidhamma is the major references for this chapter?
SA.
Samyutta Agama. Because Samyutta Agama strongly influence Theravadin devotee. Okay. So once you talk to a Theravadin devotee, you just have to choose the stand of the SA, then there wouldn't be conflict. I mean, you can avoid all the conflict. You always put the SA to discuss with the Theravadin devotee. Okay. Don't use the Mahayana text. They don't believe that. Okay. So next, Sally, your turn.
It is also said, thinking there is no self-creation and no self-reception, one falls into externalism.
Eternalism, sorry.
Oh, sorry, eternalism. Thinking there is creation by another and reception from another, one falls into nihilism. Departing from two extremes of subject and object, one should stay on the middle way and preach the dharma, which is to say, when this exists, that exists. Again, it is said, if one thinks there is a self first, there is eternalism, and if one thinks that at present the self is annihilated, this is nihilism. The Tathagata preached the Dharma which stays away from two extremes. The so-called when the event exists, when this event exists, that event exists. If these are middle way with neither eternalism or nihilism. In view of the middle way based on dependent origination is a most important teaching of Buddha.
Okay,
The
thank
Buddha,
you so much. We'll stop here. Okay. Elena, can you please try to pronounce this word again? I think Sally pronounced right.
eternalism.
Annihilated.
Yeah, annihilated. Yes. Annihilated. That should be the proper. Yes, okay, class. here, why the dependent origination as a middle way is so different from both of them. The reason is, once you talk about the eternalism meaning to say that the self is always be the same. And the self itself, the self itself is eternal without any other condition. It doesn't subject to any other condition. So once we talk about the annihilations, meaning to say that it's totally no connection. Okay, once people die, it's gone already. But for dependent origination, meaning to say that once there is ignorance, then there will be the karma. Okay, so this is the condition. Whatever we see, it depends on the condition, in subject on all the condition. So in the simple that we see ourselves is due to because we are due to the condition, we are conditioned by ignorance, the karma, and also the craving. So this is what the Buddha said. But for them, for those who other than Buddhism, they will say, oh, it should be eternalism, meaning to say that you yourself, by itself is yourself. Do you know what I'm talking about? You yourself, by yourself is yourself. So meaning to say is you are not subject to any other condition. So this is the eternalism. Okay, but for annihilism, meaning to say that once you die, so no more relation to the next life already. But both of it, we are opposing it. Okay. So next paragraph. Okay. So do I make things clear? I'm not confusing you all, right? Clear? Yeah. Why Mr. Leong laugh awkwardly? Oh, something is wrong in somewhere. Okay. So next paragraph. Okay. Okay. Yes. Whose turn? Say Elena. Yes, your turn.
The Buddha expounded this teaching to Sanda Katyayana, a great master who profoundly practiced extraordinary meditation and was not attached to any form. The sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. Mula Madhya Karika by Nagarjuna and the Yogacara Bhumi Sastra by Maitreya cited this teaching of the Agama Sutra to explain the true characteristics of all dhammas. The Buddha said to Katyayana, people who cling to their existence or non-existent are confused. Speaking of his own holy disciples, he said, those who truly contemplate work accumulation will not have the worldly view of non-existence. Those who truly contemplate worldly extinction will not have the worldly view of existence. Katyayana, the Tathagata leaves behind two extremes and speaks from the middle way. This is what is called when this exists, that exists. When this appears, that appears. When this does not exist, that does not exist. When this ceases, that ceases. So people who do not understand dependent origination will remain confused, erroneously attached, and unable to free themselves from the two extremes of existence and non-existence.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll remember off the mic after the reading, because a lot of noise created. Sally, thumb up once you finish. Okay. Mrs. Leong, thumb up once you finish. Mrs. Leong. The line is quite bad now. Okay. Okay, actually not much facts class, but basically we are introduced to three people now. Satta Kachayana, this is the recorded Nagarjuna, this is the Maitreya, this is the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, okay. This is one of the sutra, okay. Mula Madhyamika Karika, in the simple way, Mula Madhyamika, meaning to say that in Chinese we call it as Zhongguan. Zhongguan means the Buddha way, middle way, middle path. So according to the Mula Madhyamika, everything is, they are very famous to explain the phenomena of the reincarnation by using, in the middle way. Meaning to say that it wouldn't go, through this explanation, we are no more fall into either eternalism or annihilation. We won't fall either one or two or the other part. So let's take a look. We have to understand a little bit regards this. For example, is Kachayana. Oh, I can't. Kachayana. Kachayana. Yes, this is a mathematician. No, this is we look for Buddhism. Kachayana Buddha. A Buddhist, yes. Let's take a look. Okay. So Kachayana or Mahakachayana was a disciple of Gautama Buddha. He is listed among one of the 10 principal disciples and was famous is expanding on what? Let's take a look. Yeah. Expanding on and explaining the brief statement of the Buddha. So 我们讲说法第一啦. So you can have a note for it. Okay, so this is Mahakachayana, famous for expanding and explaining the brief statement of the Buddha. Class, have you ever heard about the story of the 10 disciples? Have you ever heard about? Yes or no? No. Oh, well, this is from the story of the Shakyamuni, but the life of the Buddha. There's totally 10 disciples who have their own strong point and support the Shakyamuni for the sasana. The wisdom number 1 is the Shariputra. Psychic number 1 is the Moggallana. So this one is the expanding the Buddha, the teaching of the Buddha is a Mahakachayana. Okay, so that is a totally 10 of the disciple. Okay, Ananda is the best in memorizing. all right, Ananda, okay, and Rahura, the son of the Buddha, who is the best in how to say in the secretive practice, okay. So everybody have their own specialty lah. So Mahayana we know. Now next, there's two more big figure here. One we call it as the Nagarjuna. So let's take a look, Nagarjuna. The story of Nagarjuna is very famous. Nagarjuna. Yeah. Okay, Nagarjuna is about first century, first to second century, is widely considered one of the most important Buddhist philosophy. Okay, let's take a look. He is the founder for the Mahayana. He is one of the most important figure in Mahayana. So let's take a look. You see, a founder of the Mahayana school of Mahayana Buddhism. All right. Then he is very famous in what Prajna Paramita Sutra. Okay, he's very good about the Prajna. All right. And according to the legendary, he got the sutra recovered from the Naga. Basically, Nagarjuna, before ordained as a monk, he is very naughty and he got a little bit psychic. Okay, he prefer to make himself disappear and go to the palace and play the concubine of the king. Okay, but the king is very angry. They try to catch the people who make themselves disappear. Okay, so his friend got caught and killed immediately on the spot. But luckily, he make himself disappear and he hide under the chair of the king. But after this incident, he realized that he shouldn't just always make fun with the psychic. Okay, he realized that, and he go to ordain himself, and he go to the Naga. Naga is the palace where there's a lot of Buddhism scripture, and he really thoroughly gone through all of it. And finally, he also start to write a lot of commentary and do a lot of compiling from the Buddhism scripture. Finally, he won the name as the one of the most important Mahayana philosopher, and also he is the one just after the Shakyamuni. He is so great just after the Shakyamuni. That's how people giving compliment to him. So this is, we call it as Nagarjuna. So let's take a look. Okay, Nagarjuna. Please just write the founder of the Madhyamika school of the Mahayana Buddhism. Please copy this. This is something regards to Nagarjuna. Then you also can write he is also credited by developing the philosophy of a Prajna Paramita Sutra. Once you think about Prajna Paramita, you will think about Nagarjuna. Okay, finish. Okay, so this is one of it. Then okay, Mula Madhyamika Karika. I have to roughly introduce to you because once you go to the final chapter, you will encounter all this. Mula Madhyamika Karika. So this is the one. Religion's text. Let's take a look. Okay. Well, this is the Sanskrit. If you prefer, you can write it down. Okay, so this is the fundamental verses on the middle way, abbreviated as MMK. You see it now. So this is the fundamental text of the Madhyamika school of Mahayana philosophy. Okay, composed by Nagarjuna, approximately the 2nd, 3rd century. All right. So class, you can take a look. You can write fundamental verses on the middle way. Class, you can just write it down. Mula Madhyamika Karika. See, this is the most influential text of the Buddhism philosophy. You see, most influential. Okay. So class, once we finish 3:30, you are given options to do the homework. Wiki, this Madhyamika Karika is one of the options you can choose. Just wiki, maybe just less than 15 minutes, just go through, see what why this text is so influential and which is created by Nagarjuna, who is so famous in Mahayana. Because in next chapter, unavoidably, we have to always encounter his text. Okay. Then next, a very important figure in Mahayana is about the Maitreya. Okay, let's take a look. This is Yogacara Bhumi Sastra. So let's take a look. Yogacara Bhumi Sastra. Yogacara Bhumi Sastra. Let's take a look. So this is a Sanskrit treatise on the foundation for yoga practitioner. See, that is the meaning. A large and influential doctrinal compendium associated with the North Indian Sanskritic Mahayana practice, Buddhism. Okay. According to the Utrecht Team Craft, it is a massive treatise that brings together a wealth of material stemming from mainstream as well as Mahayana Buddhism. So in a simple way, Yogacara Bhumi is the foundation for yoga practices. Class, you can just jot down this. So this is the second option. You can opt to go through this because you can see the word yoga practitioner. If you prefer it rather than the philosophy, you can just wiki this as a second option of your homework. Well, there's a lot of original texts from this school. According to history, this school might be originated from Sarvastivada. They're closely related. Class, do you remember Sarvastivada? Do you remember? I mentioned about it numerous times. You remember her? Okay. Well, Sarvastivada is the school which is split from the Theravada. Is about maybe just 1st century after the Christ. Okay, so it's split with the the Mahayana. Okay, well, the school itself is split again in between the Theravada. Nowadays, the Payatimsa, they went to the Sri Lanka, and this Sarvastivadin, they went to the Afghanistan. Okay, so from Afghanistan, they start to develop their own teaching and the school. And according to history, they are really flourishing and they're very strong. So many monks, Sarvastivadin monks in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and also in Xinjiang. Quite a number, a big number, because once Xuan Zhuang and also Fa Xian, both of them travel is in between 4th century to 7th century. According to their notes, it records and registers about 100,000 monks wherever place they drop by. So many monks, all is from Sarvastivadi. So, but this school totally disappeared. Okay, whatever text which is collected by Xuan Zhuang is very related to the Sarvastivadi. So the Yogacara Bhumi, he brought it back. The purpose for Xuan Zhuang go to the Indian is for Yogacara Bhumi. So he brought it back. So from Yogacara Bhumi, he initiated the school. We call it as a consciousness only school in China. But unlucky, a consciousness only school was sustainable for about 70 years only. After 70 years, it's totally extincted in China. But it could be, it could be, but it shows very good sustainability in Japan for 1,000 years. Why? Because this one, the consciousness only school, the theory is so complicated. It's very, how to say, it is very comprehensive. It's very detailed, and not many people like it. But basically, the academicians and the analytical mind, like Elena and Mr. Leong, I think will like it so much. Because the Abhidhamma subject, which I'm teaching now, is quite similar with the consciousness only school. The teaching is quite similar. Okay. So a second homework is for you, go to Wiki, the Yogacara Bhumi, this sastra. And Xuan Zhuang, just go, the purpose for Xuan Zhuang is just to go to find out this sastra. Okay. So it worth for study, it worth for Wiki to understand about it. Okay, next, now we go to the next paragraph. It's a when Buddhist, whose turn? Sally, right?
When Buddhists truly contemplate according to independent origination, the views of existence and non-existence should not arise. But when ordinary people see the birth of a human being, they insist that this is a real existence. And when a person dies, they insist this is real non-existence. So they have the views of existence and non-existence. With regard to the transmigration of birth and death, most ordinary people insist that this is also a real existence. Hearing about the ending of birth and death and the entrance to nirvana, people mistakenly insist that this is non-existence. Buddhists who rely on the middle way of dependent origination, when they observe things and see worldly extinction as liberation from birth and death, and should not have the view of existence. This is because the nature of dependent origination is relative and illusory and cannot be established in the quiet extinction of nirvana. Moreover, because things can become extinct when a thing is produced, this is not a case of real existence. If it is real existence, the thing would not become extinct according to condition. When one sees the rise of accumulation in the world of birth and death, one does not have the view of non-existence. This is because this is not the case that the illusory and conventional existence of dependent origination does not exist at all.
Okay, thank you.
Also,
Oh, never mind. I will digest first. Okay, class, take a look. Well, you repeat the same thing. Okay, it's still talk about the dependent originations, talk about the existent and non-existent, all right. But here one fact is so important that hearing about ending of the birth and then and the entrance to nirvana, people mistakenly insist that this is a non-existent. Like just now we mentioned that there's one of the extreme deviate view that once people die, there's no more existence. Okay, well then we mistakenly deem that this is the nibbana. No, it's a different. Okay, well for nibbana is the way where when once all the karma have been eradicated, okay, there's no more, okay, meaning to say that there's no more future life. So that is the nibbana. Because you are also entered to the parinibbana, there's no more karma, so no more future life. This is a little bit different from the non-existence. Once you die, every day ending, just like you put out the fire. That is a different story. Okay, but when we talk about there is a nibbana, nibbana is something which is not subject to any condition. Everything in the world, you can say so, they are all subject on conditions. There must be condition to make things appear. For example, okay, why we are here? Because our past life karma, there's ignorance, there's attachment, so our body appeared here. Okay, now we keep on create the karma. Why we create the karma is due to the ignorance. It's due to the it's due to the ignorance also. And then wherever you see in the world, they are all subject on condition. You can't find an entity is formed without any other condition except nibbana. So nibbana is something which is which is a sole entity and doesn't subject to any condition. It could be exist by itself. Okay, nibbana is something exists in spirituality We can't find it out, we can't tell it out. But just once you try to contemplate our nama and rupa, anicca dukkha anatta, once it reaches mature, then you will see the nibbana arise. Okay, so according some texts, it's not necessary to find the nibbana from other world. It's no need. You can just find the nibbana from vipassana, contemplating our 5 aggregates. It's just like if you want to get the sesame oil, you have to get the sesame oil from the sesame itself, the seed of sesame. But you don't go the sesame oil from the places other than the sesame itself. Okay, so that is the meaning. So let's take a look. Yeah, you see, the nature of dependent origination is relative, illusory, and cannot be established in the quiet extinction of the nibbana. That is true, because once there's a nibbana, we are not able to see the dependent originations. Okay, if it were real existent, the thing would not become extinct according to the conditions. You see or not? So that's we call it like the real existence is the nibbana. So it won't extinct. Okay, class, can you tell me, is there anything which doesn't subject to condition? Anyone can explain to me? It doesn't subject to any condition. Anyone can explain to me? No such thing. There must meaning to say that we can't find things which doesn't subject to condition. Everything must be subject to the condition. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, so now we go to the, let's see. We've got 2 more sentences. Let's try to finish it. Okay, whose turn also?
My turn. Also, such a thing can be produced. It is definitely not the case that there is real non-existence when the thing becomes extinct. Besides, if one understands that when this exists, that exists, when this appears, that appears, then when something appears to arise, one will be aware of the continuous transmigration of dependent origination. Then one will not hold the death is the end of everything and have the view of non-existence. And if one is liberated from birth and death, one will not cling to a real self being liberated. In sum, everything originates dependently. There is no real self or real thing, so the view of existence does not arise. Without real self and real things, the view of non-existence also does not arise. Truly contemplating dependent origination, free of attachment to the views of existence and non-existence, one attains liberation. Both the superior study of wisdom, the profound prajna, and the right understanding of the Eightfold Right Path are the contemplation of the dependently originated middle way. Therefore, Buddhism can be detached from a permanent, eternal self without falling into the biased view of nihilism and externalism. Identity and difference, existence and non-existence, thereby breaking through ignorance and becoming liberated from birth and death.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so class, let's take a look to the conclusion. Okay, so since we understand there is a dependent originations, so we understand that when people die, they will be reincarnated and keep on and keep on. Okay, well, that is the power of the prajna. So always, sometimes it's not easy for us to clearly explain what does it mean prajna. Now we know that prajna meaning to say that it's the contemplations for the Paticca and notice that there's non-self and also impermanence. And by understanding non-self and impermanence, we know that past life and the present life, they is closely related, but they are not totally the same. And once it become mature after the contemplation, then the nibbana will be arise. So that is the prajna, the meaning now. So we always talk about emptiness. Emptiness, it doesn't mean it is empty. It doesn't mean nothing. Emptiness meaning to say that it depends on the condition. So one day as a condition, it will be arises, okay, including the nibbana, also the same. Okay. So that's the class for today. So so the next option, you try to wiki Madhyamika Karika or Yogacara Bhumi. Just less than 15 minutes, have the wiki, try to get to understand the Mahayana text. Okay. Okay, so we transfer merit. Please palms together.